Does your mother-in-law give you advice that you never asked for? This is Leah Richeimer with the Ladies TalkShow. Here's my question for you. Does your mother-in-law give you advice that you never asked for? Like just comes in, or your mother or your mother-in-law. We're doing both tonight, okay? Both are very crucial to your future, which is, does she make demands that are unreasonable? Does she pry into your personal affairs? Do you just feel like, I need space? If that's the case, today's topic is help. My mother-in-law or my mother has boundary issues. That's what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to tell you, here's what you will get by the end of this class. Number one, when to stand up for yourself and when to let things ride. Okay, you're going to know that by the end of this class. How to draw the line so that your mother won't cross it. Okay, hello. Oh, that's me. It's working. Okay, fine. Okay. Number three is how to assert yourself to keep your sanity and your husband's sanity intact. By the end of this show, all of us will be boundary issue experts. Okay, you ready? Okay, fine. We're going to start with you, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, good. So, by the way, her voice is chipmunked, so that's not really Sarah's voice, and her name really isn't Sarah, and she's not really been married 3 years, and right, everything is not real, everything's a lie. We've got pluses and minuses of her age and whatever. So, and her new name and a fake name, and she could be from the other side of the planet. She could be from Mars, for all we know. So, no one knows where she is. Everything's private, and what we want you to start with, Sarah, if you can tell us, what is your mom, and this for those of you who it's your mother-in-law who's got the boundary issues, what is your mom's issues that are causing the problems and interfering with your marriage? You're on.
Okay, so basically, I have issues that they think that my family is more important than them, and they feel like
my family, meaning you and your husband and your daughter.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So my daughter, obviously, like, not an issue, but like, I feel like sometimes there's jealousy. I don't want to like say that word. It kind of sounds bad, but in a way, like, they want to have the same attention. They're like comparing, oh, what kind of gifts do we get for special occasions, and what kind of gifts do you give your husband?
So you mean if you give a gift to them and a gift to your husband, they're jealous of that you might have given him something that was more special than what they got?
Exactly, or vice versa. Or if I get something, like, they're like, oh, well, if they can afford something like that, why would they give us something less than? They must think of us less. They don't love us as much. And just little unnecessary reading between the lines, and it just blowing things out of proportion from my perspective. Mm-hmm. Even though I can understand where they would kind of think that, and I don't want them to feel that way, but in a sense, it just makes a lot of uncomfortableness for me and my husband.
So when they do stuff like that, how do you react?
I want to fix it, but it kind of like frustrates my husband. So, I mean, sometimes I just like let it be because I feel like there's nothing to do about it, but I'm still like nagging. I'm like, oh, well, like, we should do something to make things better. We should like
to your parents, like you're constantly looking to make harmony in the relationship because they're coming along with all of these expectations.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not like drastic, like crazy expectations, but it's just like one thing after another that happens, and it's like consistently. So like, it's basically like nothing's ever satisfying enough.
Right. So my question is, you feel a very big responsibility to keep the harmony, right?
Basically, and at the same time, I'm ruining.
Oh, ruining!
At the same time, I'm trying to make harmony there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of destroying things here. So it's
okay. So let me make that clear.
Really winning in either situation.
She says she's destroying things. Right. You're saying you're destroying things in your own marriage to be able to make harmony with your parents, and it's failing on both fronts.
Yeah, because then, like, even no matter what I do to make harmony, it always ends up
It's still not good, yeah.
not turning out well. And so basically I'm losing out on both ways. I'm just, like, not making anyone happy.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. So one of the things that you said that is that you're in this constant tug of war between you and your parents and your husband, sorry, between your husband and your parents. It's like this constant battleground between trying to please your husband and make him happy and trying to please your parents and make them happy. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's not constant. It's like up and down. It's like a roller coaster, but it's something that resurfaces every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things you said to me on the phone when we do our pre-interviews, you said that you are clear that you're not there 100% for your husband, right?
Yeah.
You know that you put your family before him.
Well, I try not to think that I do that, but when I look at the whole picture and every circumstance, it clearly looks like I am doing that.
The good news is I have some awesome strategies for you on this. You're not the first person to have this issue, and there's an absolute clear from our Masora 3,000-year track record of exactly step by step how to handle this so that you can have peace in your home, which contrary to what you might think, will make more peace with your parents. You will see. It's just a gorgeous plan of action. We're going to get there. Stay tuned. But here we go. We're going to talk a little bit about what the effect on your husband is, because, you know, some of the things you were saying were quite dramatic, that your husband says that he knows one day he's just going to say, I've had it. That's a scary thing to hear from a husband. And he says, you know, I don't know why I married you. You just like married to your parents. Those kinds of things, that's not healthy for the relationship, obviously. And you said, you know, sometimes he apologizes for saying these harsh things, but there has to be a part of him inside that really means it. Otherwise, he wouldn't say it.
Right.
You also said your husband feels like he's in second place. You said you feel like you're not. Your husband says, I feel like you're not even there for me. You might as well just go live with your parents. So these are very dramatic. This is not a little issue that is, you know, that's going to disappear by itself or get better by itself. And another thing that you had mentioned to me is that now that you have a daughter, you don't want to bring this whole yucky dynamic into her life and have her think that that's normal or think that that's, you know, where you should be going with you know, that's how you should be a daughter. That's how you should be a parent, right? We're together. We want to hear from you. Number one, do you have any thoughts for her? Number two, do you have any commiseration? Because that's a lot of what we do here is commiserate with each other, and it helps a person feel like they're just not alone. They're not the only one having this issue. So please go ahead and do that. And then if you have questions for me or questions for her, please type those in. So what we want to look at is when you say ultimately you know what the right thing to do. Do me a favor, Sarah. Tell us a recent incident, a recent conflict that you had in your, you know, with your parents or with your husband, and maybe we can, you know, by going into the practical issues, we can figure out what's the best way to handle it and take a look closer. So go ahead.
So basically, for Mother's Day, my husband said he was making a surprise. And he told me it's going to be the whole day we're going to be gone. And at the same moment, I just had a misunderstanding about something else like a week ago that happened. And so we were kind of like not speaking or kind of like in cold terms. So
you're saying that he was a whole day away. This was Mother's Day for your mother or Mother's Day for you, the wife?
No, for me.
For you. Okay, fine. That's what I thought, but I just want to clarify just to make sure we're all on page. Okay, so go ahead. So he was going to take you away for a whole day, and you were already in a argument with your parents and weren't speaking to them.
Well, we were speaking, but it was kind of like we had a different occasion, and apparently it didn't come out as they expected, and they felt like we didn't really go out of our way and whatever.
I see,
it
okay.
was like a whole thing that happened.
Okay.
So I was like, how am I going to leave the whole day? And like, then it's going to just blow things up more because we were like talking, but they're probably waiting and expecting, oh, now it's Mother's Day. let's see like what they do to the other way this time. And so I was like, I have to do something. I can't just leave. And so I was like, she's like, fine, so go there in the morning and be back by a certain time. Go give your mother a present, be with her, whatever. And so I did that, and then I was like really pressured because I also didn't tell her we were leaving because I didn't want her to think, oh, I'm just coming really quick. So like do it like just to say that I did it, to give her something and leave. I'm not like really going out with her, spending the day with her. And so
you went to your mother's house to bring to do a Mother's Day, bring her a gift and do Mother's Day with her. What time? What if you're going the whole day? What time did you go to her house, and what time were you?
It was like really early in the morning. Like I made sure to wake up super early. Like I think it was like I woke up like at 6:45, which is early for me, and I got there like 7 something, and so I went there
in the morning, 7 a.m. Mother's Day, and she was awake. Sunday? Okay.
He was sleeping, and he said he was getting up to go daven, and then I felt bad that I left because it took him a while to wake up, and then like
no, I'm talking about your mother. Your mother. So
what?
You went to your mother's house at 7 in the morning.
Yeah. So then like I came back too late. Like I saw that like she didn't want me to leave, and like I couldn't tell her I'm going somewhere. She's like, what are you doing for Mother's Day? I was like, I don't know, maybe surprise me or something. And so like I tried to leave as fast as I could, but it ended up being like 11 something, 12 something already. And then
you mean from your parents' house? So you were at your parents' house for 4 or 5 hours.
Right. So so everyone wanted to see the grandchild. Everyone came in at a different time, and then like it just like went on, and it was kind of hard for me to leave, and I couldn't say I had to be somewhere at a certain time because I just didn't want to say I was going. So I came back, and then he was like, yeah, no, we're going to be late now. Like, why'd you come so late? And then he was like fine with it. And then I was a little bit upset because I wasn't there to help him like get ready fast and be able to go to shul. So I felt like because of me, he didn't go to shul, and I was like a little bit annoyed, but whatever. So then we were on our way, and we made it like at the last moment, like we were supposed to be there at a certain time. And on the way there, like my father called me. He's like, you came and you didn't make breakfast for your mom. Like you made breakfast for yourself, but not for your mom, because she asked me if I was hungry and I wanted to eat something. So I made something. I was like, do you want something? And she's like, no, the bread that I want needs to defrost. And I was like, okay, fine. I don't have time to wait for it to defrost. But if you want, I'll wait, but I just don't have time. Like, he's probably waiting for me to do something. And so I left, and I didn't make anything. And my sister was like, oh, that looks really good. And so I made her also. So basically, I made myself breakfast. I made her breakfast, but I didn't make my mom. And so my dad was like, you came and you didn't make her breakfast, and it's Mother's Day? Like, she looked all bummed out. And I was like, my sister could have made it. You could have made it. I came and I did the best that I could. And he's like, whatever. And basically upset with me about it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm sorry. And
I want comments. I want comments, ladies. What are we thinking of this? What's going on? You went there and you spent 5 hours in your parents' house, and then your father calls you mad at you because you didn't make your mother breakfast.
Yeah, basically. And then just gives me this cold shoulder, why I was happy you came to surprise and everything, but you ate in front of her and didn't make her anything. I was like, well, I asked her, and she said she'll make herself.
By the way,
you don't ask, you just make it.
Sarah, Leah was asking why I'm so quiet, and it's just because I'm trying to hold myself back. Because I'm no disrespect to your mother, but it's to me, your mother sounds very needy and immature.
Right, boundary.
It's immature.
Yeah.
The word but I don't even see it as unhealthy. I see it as immature. That she needs her father to call.
Over the time, I've begin to learn to deal with it as looking at a child.
Yeah. Yeah,
because
that's
that's the only
like
way I could deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I would take it so personally. So lately I have been doing that where like I look at it like I have to be stern like with a child. Like before I didn't realize that, but now I realize it.
Yeah, like a child who doesn't get her way, so now she's sulking and her father has to go and like call for it. It's like a whole
That's what it probably is. The
it's drama. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to say that, so I'm trying to hold back. But I'm like, oh God.
Well, the other thing is that they also, I mean, one of the things that Sarah, you had mentioned to me that they also need your help. Like, can you pick up this one? Can you do that? Can you run me an errand here? You know, there is you have to understand one thing. Every doormat has a welcome sign on it. Okay?
I see.
There are actions that you are taking that are saying, you know, like those guys with the kick me on the back, you know, on the sign on the back, and people are kicking them because they tape to the. Do you know what I'm talking about? On someone's back, and it says "kick me," and then everyone in the high school kicks them. You know, so it's kind of like you have a big welcome mat. You know, you've got these big, huge letters, welcome, and you're the doormat. Mm-hmm. And there are. This is your responsibility because, as Sarit said, there's a level of maturity there or bad patterns or, you know, maybe that's what she had from her parents. Right. I don't know where she, you know, I'm going to give her all the benefit of the doubt that she just doesn't even understand that this is a dysfunctional way to be close to somebody and to push them away. And you said you weren't talking to her. I mean, there's a lot of drama here. This is not healthy for you, not healthy for your children. But you, because you are a strong person and you're here and you're a basileia, you're a, how do you translate basileia? You want to grow, you want to be better. And you, talking to you on the phone, let me tell you, you're a basileia. You want to create a family and a relationship with your husband that is bonded and close, and to put him first and to make that rock solid. Right. As you raise your children. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Not Leah Richeimer, our Masorah, that's 3,000-year-old track record. I'm going to go through some sources in a minute. But what I want you to know and what you start to figure out and to realize, you have the power in this situation to fix this. You're not a victim. You're not a victim.
Oh, well, Hashem.
Yeah, you have the power to fix it. It might not be easy, and it's going to take a lot of thinking, because if handled incorrectly, you could cause a really terrible rift in the family. That might end up being what happens, okay? And unfortunately, when you listen to our sources, you'll realize that might be worth the risk of taking. Probably certainly is worth the risk of taking. But
what do you mean that it would cause like a big fight? There would be no harmony. Like for a while, it would just be like upsetting situation. We just have to deal with it.
Something like that. When I go through it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But what I want to, before I get into the actual things to do, I want you to understand that your power to to bring harmony in this whole, to fix this situation is going to take a lot of strength and a lot of brain power to think before you react. Because your reactions, if your father called after you spent 4 hours and now you're having all this conflict with your husband, you weren't there to help him get ready, and now you're driving off, he's probably quite upset at you. If he said the whole day and I showed up at 11 or 12 o'clock and whatever, if I was the husband, I'd be like, really? I'm doing something for you. I'm taking you on a day, and you show up 5 hours later. I'm like, hello? Okay. So, and then your father calls, and your knee-jerk reaction is to say, oh, well, I'm sorry. Well, I didn't, I tried to ask her and to defend yourself.
No, I didn't really respond. I was just like thinking to myself, like, really? Like, but it was still upsetting me. Like, I couldn't get over the fact, like,
yeah.
But yeah, 100%. That's what I need to learn, how to change that pattern.
And now you're off the phone with him. However that phone call ended lovely, or if you slammed the phone down or whatever happened, I don't know. But now you're in the car and you're not with your husband. You're back in your mother's house. You're back torturing yourself and torturing him, your husband, torturing your kid. You're not having this gleeful time with your husband, which is what your husband doesn't like. How many people for their Mother's Day husbands planned a whole day away? I don't know. I don't know. Hello. I mean,
Well, I don't think that he'll do it that much often if I don't change my ways.
Did you see that? I won't change it.
By the way,
and you are correct in that. Yeah. You are 100% correct in that.
Can I ask you one thing, Sarah, though? Is you said you have a sister. Are there any other siblings?
Well, she can't
Yeah.
say. Don't say.
Oh, but I'm
because
saying
it's-
there's
it's-
more than just you and your sister.
Right.
Okay, and is
But they weren't there. They weren't there. They decided to go to.
Yeah, for sure.
They had a trip with their class.
Right, okay, but regardless, is this relationship or the way your mother treats you that you need to help and all that, is that only with you or is that your mother with all the siblings?
No, it's expected from everyone, but not everyone really pays attention. They just kind of like blow her off. Some of them help her and some of them blow her off. So, like, I kind of feel bad because she's like, nobody's this, nobody wants to help. And so, like, I end up, like, feeling bad and, like, I'm like, it's okay, fine, I'll do it. I can do it. But then, like, I don't realize how much it's interfering until afterwards.
Yeah.
And also, not only does it take your kishkas, it takes out the kishkas of the guts of your with your husband, and your husband's all upset. I mean, a husband doesn't come along and say, "I can't take it anymore," and that you might as well go live with your mother.
Right.
These are pretty harsh things, and I will tell you that it's kind of like, you see smoke coming out of the window. Hi, I wonder if there's a fire there. Let's see. Let's see if there's going to be. And you wait for, God forbid, you got smoke,
I'm
lady.
sorry, I didn't hear the last part. What did you say?
That you see a house and the smoke's coming out of the window. Gee, I wonder if it's on fire. And until that, you don't wait until the house is burned down. You've got smoke coming out your windows. Good on you that you're on the phone with me and that you're working to get this solved. And we will solve this. Okay. So
Hava on Instagram said that from what she's hearing, it seems like you are putting your parents first, even though you're trying so hard to make it about your husband. That's the impression. And she said, in a sense, it seems like you never left your parents' house, so it's time to maybe only see her once a month. Oh!
It's true. It's true. Hava, you're right. Thank you for the comment. It's exactly right. This is a problem. So with that, Hava, I'm going to get right to our sources because you gave us the cue. But first, hold on a second. I'm finished my water. Hold on. Okay, so we are going to.
Yeah, we need
ready?
a pause.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Throw her water bottle when she's done with it and make little sounds. Effects.
Okay, so here we go. We got this great sound effect. Okay, so first. Here we
go. Knock out lights. Knock out everything.
There we go. Okay, you didn't even hear the press.
So you got it, Hava. Sarah, you never left your parents, and Leah never left childhood.
That is true. Actually, that happens
always
to be
a child.
accurate.
You have to keep the kid at heart.
Let me go into the Masorah. Okay, so fine. These are our sources from our tradition. Number one, our Creator said that women were created to be an Ezer Kenegdo, which is a helpmate opposite him, not an Ezer Carpal, okay? So our husband comes first, not our children, okay? In Bereshis, it states, a man shall leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife, and they shall become one. That holds the same true for a woman leaves her parents' house and goes and clings to her husband. Rabbi Eliezer Shlomo Schick writes in a letter, your husband has to be the first priority. A woman must know that her husband takes priority, then her children, and then other people. Ladies, your parents and your mother-in-law and your parents-in-law are other people. Get it through your head. They're other people. The Rambam states, a woman who was created from the flesh of a man is like a piece of himself, and therefore he clings and connects with her and wishes to constantly be with her, viewing her as part of himself. That's how your husband's seeing you. Even blood relatives are not as close as a man to his wife. Although not blood related, naturally, they are even closer as if they are one body. And finally, Rav Chaim Vital says the majority of a person's eternal reward is determined by his treatment of his spouse. So what that means is however you are dealing with your husband and however you are treating him and whatever is going on with you in your life with your interactions with your husband, that is how you are ultimately going to be judged in your life at the end of 120. That's pretty scary. It doesn't say here, P.S., except if your mother comes before your husband. No, this is very clear. It says very clearly your treatment of your spouse. That is what is important. So what I want to ask you, Sarah, and I'd love people's input on this, how do you have a ability to not be a doormat? how did you, somehow you became the doormat. You became a doormat with a welcome sign on it. Can you think of ways that you're being that can get you out of being a doormat?
Well, for instance, like I started not answering the phone right away. Like I have like a rule, like I don't answer the phone before I daven, like in the morning, like even if it rings. Oh. So I don't answer.
Fantastic.
And it kind of helps me because I feel like I have some control, and then it gives me time to think about it instead of like answering right away and then going into like this wheel where I'm just like in a conversation already, and I'm just not responding the right way.
So that's fantastic. And how was the reaction been from your mom?
They just get the point. They don't call anymore until like 4 in the afternoon or like 5 in the afternoon or 6 in the afternoon. So like they got the message.
Fantastic. That's very good. So that's one of the lessons we're going to be learning. We heard from what our Masorah is about this. One of the practical aspects is the fact that when you are clear, they are clear. And if you have ambiguity in your communications with them, they're just going to go as far as until you put up the wall. They're going to go right up to that wall. And if you don't put up that wall, they'll just roll right over you. So you have to learn to set the boundaries. In fact, it's your responsibility to set those boundaries. It's not like, I'm being so mean by setting boundaries. It's your responsibility. Now, I hear it, Sarah. You're such a nice person that you don't know what setting boundaries means. It's something that's like a foreign concept to you, and you've been raised in a family where there was no boundaries, and your mom has no boundaries. She's got boundary issues. Okay, that's what the whole show's about. She's got boundary issues. So because she has boundary issues, you have boundary issues, and the reason your husband is so upset and annoyed and taking it out on you instead of saying, look at your parents, how they're calling us and they're, being so annoying and blah, blah, blah. The reason he's mad at you is because you have the power to set boundaries and you just aren't, and he can't understand that. He can't understand, like, just say no. Just make the boundaries. So you can see how healthy that has made you by not having to worry about it anymore. Can you imagine going into davening after, one of the things you said to me in our pre-call, you said, she calls with this and that. And my mom is the drama queen, and there's always some drama in her life. Every day there's this and that. Oh my God, this needs to happen. And, and you said,
I feel like it's also, I've noticed that, sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
I noticed that also, like, it's something that she needs to learn because I've noticed that she's learned from it, the way that I'm acting, like that I'm changing the way that I'm acting. So she's learning from it. So she sees I'm not calling as much, so she doesn't call as much. Or I feel like you're right. She does. I know she has boundary issues with other people that, like, she was raised with. And so I feel like it's something that she's not doing intentionally. It's just she doesn't know any better. That's what she is used to, and that's what is normal to her. And she doesn't even realize she's doing it to me. She's complaining about this person, that they have no boundaries, and I'm thinking to myself, like, she does the same exact thing, and she doesn't even realize it.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. And it's a cycle or whatever. And it's good because then maybe it can give you a little bit of forgiveness in your heart for how she is and how she's being. But that can't let you stop putting up your boundaries. Okay, so actually we have a prop. Okay, a shield. Okay,
yeah.
This is your prop. I love props. Okay, so here, this is like your shield. This is what you need to put this up. Okay, right now, everybody, we are learning. We're having boundary issue classes. Okay, that's what this is, or boundary issue class, whatever. Okay, this is. Isn't that cute? It's a really cute little thing.
I like it.
Okay, so there we go.
You look like a warrior princess.
So what we need to do by setting up our boundaries, and here's how we're going to do it, and it's actually quite clear. And I'm going to give you a lot of stuff. So some of the stuff is going to, you throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. So I'm going to give a lot of tips and techniques and ideas about how to set boundaries. You'll know what works, but one of the things is how to set the boundaries. That I think will work for everybody. But we're going to start off. So here's the first thing. If when I was talking a little bit before about how it could, if this isn't handled carefully, it can cause a rift in the family.
Right.
Okay. So
in my family or in general?
In your family. No.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Setting boundaries in anyone's family, if it's done klutzy, if it's done like, wielding a shield, a sword and just chopping everybody's heads off, that's going to cause a rift, maybe 2 years not talking to it or something, that's.
We have a shield and not a sword.
That's
We're
right.
leaving the sword out of this.
Right, okay. So for the shield, so we're going to do this very, very carefully. You're not going to do this week. You're not going to do it probably this month. You're going to make journal notes. You're going to think about it. You're going to figure out. I hear her typing in the ideas. You're going to actually figure out how you're going to do this before you do this. Because again, you don't want to be sloppy with this. You have, I don't know how old you are, if you have a kid and you're married, I don't know, 25, 35, whatever you are. This has been a pattern for a very, very long time. It needs to be dismantled and figured out. So I'm going to start with how to do it, but recognize this is not something you want to give this some thorough thought, and even discuss it with your husband as well. So the first thing is to seek an intermediary. To seek an intermediary, a third party.
Okay.
So, in other words, if you are to go talk to your parents and try to create boundaries with them, they might start screaming and yelling and who are you and whatever, and going to all your other siblings and say, what she did, and set the whole family against you and get the cousins against you or whatever it is. Who knows what that I don't know. Only you know whether they have the maturity to be able to deal with this well. I highly doubt it, but that's why.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. What that means is if you go to an intermediary of either a rabbi or a clergyman or a therapist, somebody who you can explain this whole thing to, and and then they can sit down with your parents. It is quite an advantage. I don't know if your parents, how religious they are or whatever, but it's a lot easier for somebody to deal with somebody saying, listen, this is what God wants of you. God says you should cleave to your husband, and a wife should cleave to her husband, a husband should cleave to his wife, and the in-laws and the parents should be secondary. That's what God wants. So you've got to stop making any demands that interfere in any way with their Shalom Bayis, with their peace in the home. You are forbidden. It is aser d'oraisa. It is forbidden in the Torah from God himself for you to make any shalom problems in that marriage. So quit it, because God said so. That's a lot easier for somebody to hear, even though that's hard to hear and they've got to change all their patterns. It's a lot easier for them to hear than if they aren't religious and you bring them to a therapist. And a good therapist might be able to handle something like that, but it's a little hard.
They are religious, but I could see that going. I don't even know if they would agree to that. They would be like, why do we have to go speak to a rabbi?
I'll get there, Sarah. Hold on one second. But let me just explain the difference for everybody else who's listening, whatever. If your parents aren't religious and you have to go to a therapist, first of all, a bad therapist will spend 2 years trying to get the parents to not have boundary issues. Good luck with that. That's to try and change them and say, no, don't you understand, and trying to work on that. That's like barking up this needs to be practical advice. It needs to stop immediately. This is not let's dig into your childhood, why it's like that and whatever. This is a cognitive behavioral therapy type of issue, or it's a practical do this type of issue. These are the actions you need to take, not necessarily therapy. And I spoke with psychiatrists this week to just double check that my gut instinct about it was correct, or I don't know if it's gut instinct, but just experience in these issues. And I was like, yeah. That therapy on this with the parents is, not going to be that effective. If you have a rabbinic person or a clergy person or somebody of authority who can tell them that would be ideal, because they become the bad guy in the parents' head, and you become just, well, this is what the rabbi said, so this is what we're going by. They will still be upset with you, and it still might cause a rift. But that is probably the ideal situation. Now, in order to get your parents into that type of a therapy, that has to do with that type of a meeting with a rabbi. That has to be, in a sense, done with a gentle ultimatum. And remember, what we're trying to do is protect ourselves. We want to protect you. You want to protect yourself and take care of yourself. And how it goes with them, you're going to do everything in your power to bring them close and to connect with them well. But the most important thing is you are behind the shield. So for getting getting them in might be a gentle ultimatum is, Mom, whatever your husband's name is, Bill and I are just, we're just not happy. We just feel like there's a lot of issues in the relationship. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of drama. We're not talking to each other for a few weeks and then we're back and it's a whole roller coaster. And we don't feel it's healthy for us and we don't feel like it's healthy for our child. But we love you so dearly. We really want to be close to you. We really want to work at being close, but not the way it currently is. If you would like to go to therapy with us or go to Rabbi so-and-so with us, pick somebody who they know and respect would be ideal. Maybe you and your husband have a session with the rabbi first to explain all that's going on so they're totally on page and show them the sources that I gave you that said, God is telling us it's us. And if you have, here's the bottom line, Sarah, this and everybody who's listening has to know. The bottom line is if you have to choose between your parents and your husband, it's your husband.
Every time.
Every time it's your husband. It means if you have to cut all relations with your parents to have peace in your home, that's the answer. You please do me a favor. Somebody go through all the sources. Go through all the sources. You will not find anything different from that. If you asked 1,000 rabbis, 1,000 people who are experts in marriage, they will tell you, sorry, husbands first, not the parents. Now, if there's dysfunction and there's abuse and there's whatever, that's a whole other ballgame. Those of you who watch the show, no, I don't deal with that. I'll send to counseling. I send to people who are experts in that. But if you have, whatever, everyone's got their dysfunction, everyone's got their issues, everyone's got their stuff, okay? In a healthy, normal relationship or in even a relationship that's perfectly healthy, but, it's a good relationship. There's no abuse going on. This is the answer. Husband first. He's top. The parents are way down here. The children are way down here. Okay? There's other shows on that. Click below. You'll see other shows on parenting and where the husband is meant to be. These are God's words. This is what God wants of us, to make our husband first. End of story. So you have to know when you are being so sweet to your parents and saying, listen, we'd really like to have a better relationship with you. Reading between the lines, the soft, gentle way to do it is say, we really want to have a close relationship with you, but not this way. If they're still not listening and you have to get harsh and say, look, it's either one or the other. This cannot be. I've got to put my Shalom Bayis first. Memorize these words, write them down. I must put my Shalom Bayis first. Shalom Bayis means peace in the home. That's the number one thing you're going to be judged on in all eternity. And that's your happiness. That's the key. So making your husband first is going to solve a lot of your own personal issues, your own happiness in your life. And it'll also give you clear boundaries. The fact that your mother is calling and making her drama your drama. Sorry, Mom, I can't talk now.
Well, actually, lately, it's not as much. She stopped, so that got better, Baruch Hashem.
That's
but
fantastic.
I just, still feel that I need to learn.
Okay, so good. So let me give you some actual crystal clear tips.
And by the way, Sarah, Linda on Instagram said that she's been there. So just so you know, you're not alone, that others have dealt with this, and there is a light
at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
A rainbow at the end of the pot of gold.
It.
Okay. Is it rainbow at the end of pot of gold?
No.
How does it go? There's a rainbow.
Yeah. I thought it's a pot of gold.
At the end of the rainbow. There you go. Okay. I knew I had something. Okay. I think gold. Yeah. Right. Money. Give me the cash. There we go. Okay. So here's the thing. You need to make a plan. So now, first thing is to try an intermediary, get clear on it. The second thing is to make a plan for yourself, either with the intermediary or by yourself. Is it best to draw a line in the sand with your parents and say, okay, you only can call, between 7 and 8 at night. You cannot call with any drama. No drama. We're not having drama. If you have something drama, like you're freaked out because so and so didn't come home on time, or whatever it is that's her dramas. If you have one of those things, you can email me. Not even text. You don't want it flashing up on your screen, stressing you out. Email me. I'll get to it when I get to it. I usually check my emails once a week. No, yeah, I usually check my emails once at night. So if you have some crisis, here's the situation. People with no boundaries, they always have crises. They're called fake crises. They're like, ah, and they get all worried and work themselves up and whatever because they have no boundaries. So whatever is going on in the outside is, makes them, reactive to whatever's going on. So they react more than other people. She doesn't have boundaries. That's how she is. You shouldn't be caught up in her wave of, her tornado.
It pulls everything in.
That's it. That's exactly it. So that's again, think to yourself, when that happens and you feel yourself being drawn into her drama and her tornado, think, oh, I'm taking the welcome sign off my doormat. That's not welcomed. So you need to make a plan of crystal clear how you're going to handle it. The other thing is to get a journal, write down things that she does that cross boundaries. Be clear, because you know what? The mind does crazy things, especially when you've got a knee-jerk reaction, and for 20 years or 30 years, whatever it's been, you've been doing the same thing. She does this, you do that. She does this, you do that. Every time. When she does this, even if you're smart, even if you say, okay, I totally get it. I want boundaries in my life or whatever. When she does this, you're still going to do that. So how do you prepare for that? What you do is you write down everything that she could do, everything she has done. You make lists and say, oh, I see how she gets under my skin. If she tries to tell me about a crisis and I don't, she says, oh, I don't know, Dad's cholesterol came back and it's high and what do I do and whatever. And you're like, Mom, let's deal with this later. I'm not, and you kind of brush her off. Now she's going to up the game.
Yeah, I've done that. And then she just okay, she just not happy about it, but she's like, okay, it's fine. I'm not going to call you anymore. I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to call you anymore. I'll do it. That's good, actually. That's good. The passive aggressive, but it's still good. That's better than her continuing to call. But then she'll up her game, and she'll call you 3 hours later when she didn't get a response out of you there. She'll call you 3 hours later and say, oh my gosh, I've got a flat tire, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, she's going to up her game. So you have to know what is her game. Write them all down. Keep a journal. And then what you do is go by and you mark them A, B, and C. A's are, the absolute you need boundaries for. A's, B's, no, not happening anymore. C's, maybe there's some other things she does that you are putting up with. Like she calls all the time. Can you pick this up? Can you pick up some milk? Can you do this? And she asks you all these stuff. And maybe for you can say, okay, some of those things I'm willing to do for her. If you are, okay, and so mark those C's or whatever, and you can circle those, and those you can continue to do. I know for me, I'm much more of a black and white person, so it's kind of like when when there was crime in New York City, so what did they do? They started arresting people who were spray painting. Or right. Not spray painting. Jumping turnstiles or whatever, all these little things. And then all crime went down because so for you, if you have some things that she's allowed to get away with, it might just be a Pandora's box and might be a slippery slope. Forget about it. So you have to know what's going to work in your relationship with your mom. But, so I'm more of the black and white person, like, have the, like that boundary. That's it. Okay. Now, once you have clarity on what your plan is and how you're going to do it, you have to decide, is it good to have a deep discussion? You already said no, and probably for a lot of people it's going to be no. Is it going to have this is a very harsh thing I'm about to say, and I'm open to reactions, but one of the psychiatrists who I talked to said, some people just need a family-ectomy.
That's what one of our viewers said. She's like, she just needs to stop going to her mother.
Yeah, that's it. So it's called a family-ectomy, and they said,
you mean like a black sheep?
No. Black sheep is when everybody's calling you a scapegoat, and you're a family-ectomy means you and your husband and your baby get on an airplane and move to another city.
Oh, I consider that sometimes when I just can't handle it, but then it just doesn't happen for now.
Right. So I don't know if it's the right thing. It's a horrible thing to even bring up, and that's why I said it. Like, I had to double check this. Like, is that? But there are cases where it's so dysfunctional, and there's so no growth. Now, I'll tell you, there is hope that you don't need a family-ectomy, which is that your mother, when you stop picking up the phone in the morning, she stopped calling. So she gets the message. And when you say, she calls you with a crisis, and you're like, I can't deal with this. She says, okay, I won't call you anymore. It might be passive-aggressive. Who cares? Good. Get her off the phone. It's not your problem. So she does seem like she has somewhat of a learning curve. And if there are other children, you said there are other kids who just blow off everything she says. And in that case, you're now going to be one of those people, and maybe there's going to be a backlash on that. Let me tell you how to handle that. Okay.
Yeah, and Sarah, by the way, not to be morbid, but I personally have 2 friends who had mothers who just were constantly, attached to them, and it was affecting the marriage. And many people recommended to both of these people at separate occasions to move somewhere else away from the parents.
Had this boundary issues.
Yeah, and to move away, and they kept saying, we can't, it's not going to work, whatever. It's always excuses, and not to be morbid, but they're both divorced today. Because their husbands could not, because it doesn't end. It just, and especially as they get older, parents become even needier.
More needier and more dependent.
So it was like there was no... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like a real,
Take it seriously.
it's like a real wake-up call. Now you're in the beginning. You could, change it now.
Did they ever get remarried or anything? No. Neither of them?
No.
The husbands probably did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? They did? Both of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't mean to
pour
salt in the wound.
Yeah, and they know it. They say it straight out. They say, if we could do it again. But that's what happens.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. All right. Well, that was a little chilling. Thank you, Sarita.